We've got a new limited edition from the custom shop at Fender that we have been waiting a while for. We're going to show you this beautiful Jaguar and tell you what makes it unique and why you probably want to add it to your collection. Stick around. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name's Chris McKee.
I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, you know what to do. Subscribe, turn on notifications with that bell, and comment and all of that jazz. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to visit our Spring Store link below. Check out our podcast, and you can also send us food as somebody else did. So, Paul, thanks for the food.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
We will enjoy it in your name.
The coolest thing ever. Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
So today we're looking at a really cool limited edition from the Fender Custom Shop. This is a 62 Jaguar. I've got the shop traveler here. And we've been waiting for a while. This was actually a limited edition for 2022. And finally has reached our lovely shores here at the nation of Alamo Music. It's very cool. I was excited when we ordered this, and I honestly, can I be honest, I completely forgot about it, because that's kind of what happens. It's like, oh yeah, we had this cool stuff on order. So.
Yeah, we got a list of everything that was outstanding not too long ago. I totally forgot this was coming. I was like, man, that's cool. And then I forgot again. And then it showed up on Friday.
Well, and I was just looking at it literally on, I think, Friday morning. And I was like, what do we still have outstanding? Oh, that should ship soon. That's cool. And then, boom, there it is.
Good to go. And it's we don't get a ton of Jaguars in general. They don't have a ton in production right now. Mostly when we see them, it's player Jaguars and stuff from the Mexico factory that are cool, but not quite Jaguars.
Right.
And they don't even do a ton of them in the custom shop. Offsets are pretty few and far between when it comes to the custom shop.
And most of the time, they're Jazz Masters.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons that I was excited to order this guitar because, like you said, there aren't very many Jags that are in the lineup. And I personally believe that the Jaguar is underappreciated and has been from its launch. Do you know about its history?
I don't. I mean, I know a little bit, but I need the lesson. I need the full lesson.
I mean, basically, it was introduced in the early 60s. Some say 60, some say 62. This is a 62. 62 is definitely when the marketing began in earnest. And it was to be the top of the line guitar. So this was more expensive than the Telecaster, Stratocaster, Jazzmaster, which obviously it owes a lot of its design to with the way that it's set up with its circuit, but also the shielding that the pickups had, the built-in mute. Like, this was to be an upper echelon Fender to compete with Gibson and really try to bring people over from Gibson to this more deluxe instrument. And it just didn't find its audience. I think partly because maybe its price and the continued popularity of like the Telecaster and the Stratocaster. The Jazzmaster and Jaguar in their offset body really never found its place until later. And that was like punk and indie rock and shoegazer and surf and that kind of stuff. But I think at this point, we should say people are embracing offsets because we're seeing them all over the place. Very modern interpretations of offsets. A lot of boutique manufacturers doing the Fender, copy basically of an offset, or taking their own spin, like offset semi-hollows and things. So there's now a recognition that this is a very cool body shape, but there's a lot to love with the Jaguar.
Yeah, it's definitely like the Jazzmaster. It's got its own kind of vibe with the switching, even more complicated, maybe.
I think it's pretty streamlined once you get it.
Once you get it,
but if you're used to like a 5-way switch, you might go, what am I doing with this?
And you see those on the more modern kind of, something like this. It's got the OG switching over here and then the rhythm circuit, just like the Jazzmaster. I've always loved the mute.
Yeah.
And I'm bummed out that it doesn't come out on, I mean, right now I think top line Jaguar you can get is the Johnny Marr, right? So they got the Johnny Marr. It's cool. Patrick Marr, who works here and is one of the owners, has a Johnny Marr. There's no relation there.
Yes, no relation.
But I've played that guitar. I like it. But I love the mute, and I saw this on, I've just seen it on old school ones, and I always wanted to play it. First time I got to mess around with the mute, and I will tell you, I had to do the demo a couple times because It takes a second.
It's a little
Yeah,
different.
it takes a second.
You know what's cool about the mute is going back to like the popularity of offsets kind of rising. Stuff like this is kind of reaching the zeitgeist in the guitar world.
Yeah.
You see a lot of stuff on social media now where people are taking like acoustic guitars and putting rubber saddles on them, or doing something to have the sound that a mute like this will give you.
Yeah.
I've seen people starting to gravitate to finding a way to add a mute to their more modern guitars. So yeah, it's definitely a cool sound. It adds to the versatility of the guitar, and I really like the setup. The other thing, we'll talk about all of the specs here, but one of the things I really love about the Jaguar is its scale length.
Yeah.
It's a 24-inch scale length, which if you're keeping math at home, that makes it a lot shorter than a typical Fender scale length, but also shorter than even like a Gibson Les Paul, which is about 24 3/4 scale length, or 24 and a half. So it's a really slinky feel in a full-scale guitar that I really dig.
Yeah.
It changes the sound. It's kind of got richer harmonics, and the feel of the strings is really nice.
Yeah, it's super cool. If you don't know what the switching is all about, the top two, but I guess, furthest to the left, these are basically on-off switches for these pickups. So you can go just neck, both of them, or just the bridge. And this is a mid-cut, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's not your current like series parallel or in and out of phase.
Right.
It switches up the EQ, and it's nice because different things call for different tones. And then if you go up here, you flip it up and you're in the rhythm circuit, which is just like a Jazz Master at that point. Yeah, so it bypasses these, which is volume and tone, and you got rollers for your volume and tone over here. But the sound on this is the jangly, classic, really bright but not shrill kind of tone that you want from something like this. I love the mute. This took a second for me to get used to.
Yeah.
You can always take it off.
Because
it's
you're
fine.
used to putting your palm there.
I want a palm mute, and
But you don't need a palm mute because you can just
you got a
mute.
mute.
You can mute, yeah.
And then with the mute, you can just pop it up like that, and you got a piece of foam under the strings, and you can get all the fun surfy kind of sounds that you enjoy.
The other thing I think is underappreciated both on these and Jazz Masters is the really cool tremolo setup.
Yeah.
Because you can get all of the wonderful vibrato that you want, but you can also set them up to be just locked out.
Yeah.
And give you all sorts of stability. So like I know guys who like tremolo, but people that also don't like the floating tremolo effect where you bend a string, and if you're playing some kind of a chord or an open string, it'll take that note and make it flat. So you can lock this out and not have to deal with that.
Yeah.
It's just a very stable, very cool tremolo system when it's set up correctly.
Yeah, super cool. And then in terms of the specs of the guitar, I love the color. We've had a few Sherwood greens, like we had that awesome Strat, and we had the Irish Pub Green Jazz Master, which you've seen on the channel as well. I like Sherwood a lot, and it's a
aged Sherwood metallic.
Yeah.
It's killer. It's absolutely killer. Now, we should say, so this is a limited edition Closet Classic Deluxe. So you're not seeing a bunch of relicing, and I don't know if this shows up very well on camera. You can probably see it with the close-ups, but there is checking on the finish.
Yeah.
And it's really cool checking, particularly with the metallic finish, because it won't catch your eye except in the light, and then it just sparkles in a really beautiful way.
In the custom shop, do they do that naturally, or is it like all done? You know what I'm saying?
So it's proprietary and we don't know is the answer. But my suspicion is that they do this through temperature manipulation.
Yeah.
There was a video going around on social media of a guy who did a repair on an acoustic guitar where the top had to be replaced. And it was a nitro finish guitar, and he wanted to make the top, the new top and lacquer, look like the rest of the guitar. So he was taking a can of compressed air you would use to clean like a computer keyboard. If you turn it upside down, don't do this at home. This is done only by professionals. That's my PSA and disclaimer. If you turn those upside down, they're very, very cold. And what he was doing was using that with the blast of cold air to hit the nitro and cause it to check. You get differing effects.
Yeah.
And the way that this is done with very small checking and almost in kind of a uniform manner tells me that the custom shop has a method that they've arrived to get the results that they want. You can do that with heat. You can do that with cold. You can take a lacquer nitro guitar and stick it in the freezer and then pull it out into a hot area, and it'll do that. You can do it vice versa. So that's probably how they're arriving at that. But they're not beating, this guitar is not beat up in any way.
Which is good. Yeah.
So it's a closet classic. It's basically a very, very well cared for vintage. But the neck is killer.
Yeah. Which you can see that obviously color differential, but it's not like the super heavy Relic neck that's like black from years of touching it.
Yeah.
It's really just super smooth and kind of sanded down and really nice.
I was looking at the Shop Traveler to see, so the neck finish they only list as a medium tint nitro clear, which is what you're seeing on the headstock and at the heel. That middle part where the finish has been removed may just be oil treated wood, which some boutique makers have been doing, but they don't specify that. In any way, in any case, it feels fantastic.
Feels really nice.
This is a feature that I'm loving on guitars.
With the combo of the shorter scale and the really comfortable neck, super playable guitar. It was that flat lamb rose.
Flat lamb rosewood.
Nice.
Yeah. It is a AAA grade 9mm. Of course, you've got your 24-inch scale, 22 frets, and it is using the 9.5 radius on this rather than the more vintage 7.
What about these guys?
So those are custom shop, flat magnet Jaguar pickups, which, if you aren't aware, they are not single coils like Strat single coils. The thing that I think a lot of people miss out on is single coils are not single coils. Telecaster pickups are different from one another and different from anything you'll find on a Stratocaster.
Yeah.
Jazzmaster pickups are single coil. Jaguar pickups, they're all single coil pickups, and they're all different. And these, by design, are shielded as well. You're probably still going to get hum, but they are really nice sounding, and they're a bit hotter than what you typically get from a Strat single coil or like a neck Tele. And so that's part of the jangle that you get of these guitars. So.
Yeah, it's very nice, very easy to play, very fun to play. On the demo, you're gonna hear some clean tones. I'm going through it. But then, as I said, I was messing with the mute. I thought it'd be a thing where I could keep playing the same thing, kick the mute on. It took me a little bit, and it's kind of an interesting thing. But you can hear the mute. I don't know how many people are going to be playing a full set with the mute on, but for a cool effect,
it's
there.
For that run. Like you just hit that point, and you just go through a cool run with it. So
yeah, it's very cool. But take a listen.
So there you have it. It's basically a custom shop done in a very traditional vintage manner with a few modern appointments. I do like the narrow tall frets that they've used. I'm glad it has the flatter radius at the 9.5. I dig everything else about this guitar. The hardware is fantastic. I like that it's new, not new, you know, with the Closet Classic Deluxe. Yeah, killer guitar.
Very cool guitar. You know, you got to have the nut width, but you also got to have the butt width. So we got a butt width of 2.2 inches on this one.
Very important.
It's just something that the spec heads need to know.
Yep.
In terms of the sound, I really like it. It's kind of one of those things you always see vintage Jags, and I'm a big Jazzmaster fan. These don't get their due.
Yep.
There needs to be more of them. It'd be really nice to have a through that on purpose. It'd be nice to have like an American Vintage 2 62 Jag or something. You know, that would be very cool.
It really would. I know there's a guy at Fender that is involved with their product development who is a huge offset fan with both Jazzmasters and Jaguars. I'd like to see more Jaguars in the lineup. I'd love to see an American Vintage 2. I'd love to see a Pro version.
Yeah.
I'd love to see all of these things. And, you know, hopefully we can raise awareness of how cool of a guitar the Jaguar is, and, you know, Fender will take notice. But in the meantime, this aged metallic Sherwood green is a killer, and I'm glad we got it. And someone's going to be very lucky to have it. I always try to look for that diamond in the rough, the thing that gets overlooked.
Yeah.
This is such a cool guitar.
Everybody wants the 3-color Sunburst Strat or the Butterscotch Telly. This is something a little different. It's limited edition, very versatile, and yeah, just something a little different and cool.
You can find out more information on our website, which is
alamomusic.com.
That's very good, very good.
Thank you.
Yep. So head there, and you can buy this guitar or many others. You can chat with someone live, get all the information that you need. And if you're new to the channel, you should subscribe. You should turn on notifications. You should drop a comment and tell us what you think about the guitar. And you should come back because we will be here, and we'll see you next time.